Here in Muncie, many primary care doctors and medical facilities are located either downtown or in West Muncie near the hospital, making healthcare access difficult for many residents in the south and east parts of the community. Poverty rates are very high in these areas of Muncie, and a significant number of these residents live more than a mile from the nearest grocery store. These challenges hit Muncie's Black community hardest, since the neighborhoods with the highest proportions of Black residents, Industry and Whiteley neighborhoods, are in the south and east parts of Muncie. And you may be thinking, wow, this is a really rotten set of coincidences for people living in those areas of Muncie. But no, many of these challenges are ripple effects of specific causes. And one of those causes is this 1937 map I'm holding. Health is Wealth is presented by Meridian Health Services, with support from Lifestream Services. I want you to notice two of the red shaded areas. The one just south of downtown, that's Industry, and the largest one to the northeast, that's Whiteley. This map and others like it across the country are the source of the term redlining. These maps were made for the federal government's New Deal homeownership programs in the 1920s and 30s. And as a direct result of these maps, government-insured mortgages were systematically denied to the residents of predominantly Black neighborhoods, like these. Industry and Whiteley were literally redlined a century ago. And for residents today, their social determinants of health, their life circumstances, in other words, are still affected in many ways.
I'm Jena Ashby. I'm the director of the 812 Coalition. And the 812 Coalition is a neighborhood-focused community development coalition where we incorporate the gifts, dreams, and concerns of residents in a portion of Thomas Park, Avondale, and South Central neighborhoods, and partner them with organizations that are also working in this area to improve quality of life.
Now, these neighborhoods in South Muncie, where the 812 Coalition is active, have also been affected by historic disinvestment. But unlike the redlining in Industry and Whiteley neighborhoods, Jena told me this area lacks investment for a different reason: factory closures.
So there's just been a lot of change that occurred when jobs moved and people followed those jobs. So the data tells us that our neighbors have lower education attainment. We also know that we have a higher number of kiddos under age 5 and a higher number of seniors that live here. So that is another thing that helps us just keep in mind when we're thinking about quality of life, to remember who is here the most. Neighbors are concerned about access to healthcare, and one of the things that they desire for the community to be considered one that has high quality of life is healthcare that's close by to them. When we started doing this work several years ago, there was only one primary care physician in the 47302 zip code. So we're able to really take both of those things, what we knew from data, but then also what we know from what neighbors have told us is important to them, but doesn't exist, and begin to create some paths that increase that resource for people in this community.
I think a solution is working with our community partners. You know, Open Door is a health care center, but we also are involved in our communities so that we are bringing health care into the communities, not just hoping that those in the communities find the health care within our four walls.
In 2022, Open Door launched a new way to try to bring healthcare into the community.
So Open Door Connections is a relationship-based neighborhood initiative that walks alongside our community friends as they work to increase their resources and decrease their barriers. We launched Open Door Connections in late 2022, so we're still fairly new and super excited. Day to day, what we have is we have connection staff we refer to as neighborhood ambassadors. They are in the neighborhood, specifically in neighborhood businesses, organizations that are already in the neighborhood neighborhoods. And so they're meeting people essentially where they are to help them out, to provide the support, and to build relationships. Because what we realize is that it's great to go out and say we have a service, but this is not a we build it, they come. This is literally we build relationships. And in order for us to do that, we have to borrow from the trust and relationships that are already established so that we can continue to grow stronger relationships. We are there for the long haul. We are really there building relationships and helping people get from where they are truly to where they desire to be.
Jena Ashby has also seen the value of relationships in connecting people to the health care they need.
Every Thursday night for the last 7 years, there's been a community meal that happens at Avondale United Methodist Church. And through that, we've just gotten to know so many people who live in the neighborhood or just outside of the neighborhood. And as you get to know people, you hear what their challenges are or what they're seeking help with, or maybe you're just not sure where to go, or you notice something about someone, and because you have a relationship with them, you get to ask and say, oh gosh, I noticed you were kind of limping today. What's going on? And then when they begin to open up and share, we realized how important that relationship was to say, hey, can I help you make an appointment? Do you know a number to call? And then even just reminding, the next week when you see someone saying, oh, did you make it to that appointment? Just that caring, trusting relationships are so important.
Making any kind of habit change in your own life is easier when you're sharing that goal and that process with others. But when you're aiming for change that goes beyond the individual to the neighborhood or the community, that collective commitment is not only helpful, but essential. And a great way to create that collective commitment is through what author Charles Duhigg calls Keystone Habits, where starting with a small victory helps create momentum for bigger and better things.
We know that it's really important for everyone in the community to experience some quick wins, to see a place where you gave your input and then something happened that you were a part of the process of happening in a relatively short time. And that really bolsters your commitment to what's happening, your excitement about what's happening, and your belief that you can do even bigger things.
One of the specific examples Jena gave me was abandoned houses. There were a lot of them in the neighborhood. So the 812 Coalition started working with volunteers to board up all the doors and windows of these abandoned houses. But what made this unique was they didn't stop there. They painted the boards on the doors to look like actual doors. And they painted the window boards to look like there was a cat or a flower pot sitting in the window.
It was like a small thing, but everybody came together to do that, and it changed the look. But then it also said, okay, we've done this piece, but then what's the next thing that we need to do about abandoned houses? How can we create advocacy around getting them torn down or getting them rehabbed? And now when you drive around the neighborhood, there are very, very few of those properties that still have those boarded windows. They're either gone and a new home was built in its place, or it became a pocket park, or, all these different things. So that feels like a huge success, how we just started with this one little idea, but it helped us with that awareness and believing that we could have impact.
Keystone Habits. Whether you're looking to change your whole neighborhood or just be a healthier person, look for little ideas that can build awareness and build belief. That's how big impact happens. Have you seen a Keystone Habit make a difference in your neighborhood? Let us know about it in the comments. Like and subscribe because we've got more episodes of Health is Wealth on the way. In our next episode, heart disease is the leading cause of death in the U.S., but you can make your heart healthier with a little change to what you drink. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.